So basically, to the extent that we have a mirror, a system, value system to reflect our current condition with regard to what we recognize as valuable, and we strive to evolve along that path, we would be an evolving knowledge city. I think that the current condition where many developed societies or developed countries are really realizing that they were not as developed as they thought before, and that some developing communities are probably at the end closer towards the culture and the value system they recognize as important. So we are all in that.
Not on that topic, but I think there is something important considering the diversity of participants I'd really like to comment on. When we look at the knowledge cities, it's not on the Western practice, so maybe it's still at the emergency stage, it's still developing, but there is Saudi Arabian Islamic knowledge city concept, because city is a place that cultures live, people live. So I think cities needs to be designed based on the value system of that particular culture. So, for example, a knowledge city, if you make Tehran as a knowledge city, it will be definitely different. Will be different than Boston. It should be different than Boston. If it's saying there's something wrong, it means that we are franchising something. And I think, like, the beauty here is when I go and drink a coffee, I know that it's not a franchise place. It's a unique identity of Matera. So I think this is something that we really need to preserve. And my colleagues from Malaysia at the last row, and they're working Malaysian version of knowledge cities in different parts of the country. Still it's evolving because the concepts and definitions are coming from the Western literature and practices. I think its interpretation, infiltration in different cultures will still take some time. But I highly encourage these people to build on their value system, their cities.
Okay, sorry Stephen, we're out of time. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We are ready to move on to the next session. Before that, we just go through one little formality.
Well, the formality is just a thought for both of you, and please give a hand to. So now we are moving to the parallel session. Please
talk something about multinational companies or corporations and subsidiaries in my country. After a very short introduction about theoretical grounding, what we talk to say and why we want to talk about it. Very short about methodologies, which is quite complex, and some, not some findings, but some findings, some limitations, and after I will conclude my presentation. So the goals of papers, they are written here. I will not talk word after word what is written there, but what I want to present here is just a very small part of one results of one survey, which was part of one big research. So it's I should focus very narrowly with my presentation and present just a really very slight part of what all we have. And if you would have questions and I would know the answer, we can maybe talk about it, because it's just so. This survey was focused, as it is written there, on several issues of management of or knowledge and innovation management from the perception of managers of subsidiaries of multinational corporations which have their seat in our country. It was quantitative survey. Even this research was quantitative and qualitative as well, but I present here just results of this quantitative survey. It was made realized last year, and that's it. What we want to do, besides all our all other aims, was just to compare what was written before, what we know from theory and from existing empirical findings, and if it works and how it works with Czech subsidiaries, these multinational companies or corporations. Second phase or second step for my presentation is because I know that there are my two colleagues from my country, but as I know you are from many countries here, and maybe some of you, most of you, do not know anything about Czech Republic. So Czech Republic is a very small country in the heart of Europe, as we call it. It's a very open economy, and it works quite well. If we just think about it, it was closed economy 22 years ago for 40 years, but before the Second World War it was a very developed country, and now it's quite developed. It's considered as to be developed. Here are some notions how we are about our economy, and for what I should maybe stress, and why I talk about subsidies of multinational corporations, is that this openness of our country shows that there are really many multinational corporations situated and operate there or here or there. By the way, in many Italian companies as well, and many Germans as well. So, theoretical groundings, I just picked up some keywords from all these theoretical groundings. What we are interested in was to verify theory about knowledge flow or knowledge flow directions and mode of knowledge flows, because there is much knowledge, theoretical knowledge. How does it work between parent companies and subsidiaries in many countries? Results or these findings are, let's say, one way, but we show in many directions. So this is what we want to test. So knowledge flow directions and knowledge flow and mode of knowledge flow. After there is much theory about organization of multinational corporations. From all this theory, we just picked up, or I just picked up for this paper, or we just picked up for this paper I've written the existence of innovation centers, because we find it quite interesting for that knowledge and innovation effort could centralized somewhere or in some mode. So innovation center, and from all this area of organization of knowledge flows. Another point is, and it's about formalization of knowledge flow. So these 2 points from this second point. And the last issue which came into analysis of results, which I have here, is knowledge flow and characteristics of subsidiaries. We use 3 variables which are usually used as or applied as explanatory variables. It's shown here. It's size of companies, of subsidiaries, not age, but just size. After financial performance of subsidiaries, and the last one is foreign equity. So how much headquarters have equity in subsidiaries? We find it also very well developed in theory. So we wanted to know how it works. I'll look at it. Maybe you understand that our survey had an explanatory character. I should maybe add that there is not much knowledge about how subsidiaries operate in our country, which is quite interesting when we compare it with the empiric, what really works there. So explanatory character, we combined two methods of approach. We combined online survey and face-to-face, but face-to-face, as I said, it's quantitative survey, or it was quantitative survey. It's not written there, but I should talk about it. But we also try to dig some more information from subsidiaries, and we made 10 case studies. So also face-to-face interviews were applied. But I do not have results in my paper. We used many statistical methods. If you are good in statistics, you should ask my colleague, Mrs. Kralova, because I'm not a statistician. I understand what she wrote about, but not very well. She is a statistician, so all these methods were used. And now about sample. It's not written here, but it's written in paper. They were 335 companies in our survey which answered to our questions. Again, it's always so. Many papers, but never know where I should have it. The response rate was about 13%, so it's quite well. We divided companies according to size because it's what this exploratory variable. As you can see, it was relatively divided quite proportionally. We had some requirements, so minimum size of companies were 50, so there was no micro companies, which were not limited. I don't know why exactly, but we also limited legal form of companies, so there were just two types of legal form, joint stock companies and private limited companies. And according to our results, we have to divide for companies or subsidiaries which fall into our sample into two groups according to foreign ownership share, up to 99%, and for wholly owned companies. For financial performance, there was one special aggregate which was counted. Again, you have to ask Mrs. Králova because she counted down. But two measures were used: return on assets and asset growth. So this was financial performance. Just for the years 2005 and 2009. So maybe it could be a limitation that we ask our companies in 2011, and financial variables were from these years. I'm sorry. We formulated 7 hypotheses. They are very long, so I don't want to read one after another. But they were formulated, as you can see, something like this one. But what we measured is these points. So perceived impact of headquarter of multinational corporate knowledge on subsidiary innovation performance. So how do they perceive this impact considering the flow? After, if they use any formal procedure for collecting and recording knowledge or not, bless you. If there is any existence of knowledge transfer or not. We found that there is nearly in all subsidiaries some knowledge transfer. It's obvious. After the direction of knowledge flow, mode of knowledge flow transfer, and finally two variables: the existence of innovation centers, if there exist or not, and if how many. And last scale question was about measure of subsidiary cooperation with domestic external organization. Domestic external organization, it means with universities, with research centers, universities, high schools or something like this, so with knowledge workers, I would say. And all these variables were related to these exploratory variables. So very long. Now, very shortly, summary of findings. You will see one table with many signs. So I have just explanation for some of signs, so understand a little bit what is written there. When you see these two crosses, it means that what was found, it was statistically significant positive association. If it's just one cross, there was some association, but not statistically significant. We are in our country, we are big fans of statistics now. It's a fashion here. If there is anyway, there wouldn't be any one minus. There is no association, etc., etc. And there is also 0, and there is really no association, which was found. So now this horrible table from where you maybe can see results. I should find it here for explanation, but I don't know where it is. I have it. So maybe the most boring variable, explanatory variable, was this foreign share of foreign equity. As you can see, there were mostly 0 with all other variables which was found, so maybe no association. But in 2 cases, there was some association. It was this perceived impact of and as MNC knowledge flow of subsidiary innovation performance, statistically very significant, and some association. And after in this follow procedure, what means that companies, if I can explain just these findings, the second findings means that if there is wholly owned subsidiaries use most often formal procedure. It's quite interesting. We don't know why, because we didn't find it in theoretical findings, but we can explore it more. So this is foreign equity. After when I go to the size of, as you can see, maybe I can just jump to this existence of knowledge transfer within multinational corporations, because you can see just zeros there. It was just, as I say, we found no association or no relation, but it could be interpreted by statistical means. There were just 34 from all this number. 34 subsidiaries which do not use any knowledge transfer, so all other use. And maybe one interesting finding, because I have just 1 minute, it was with this direction of knowledge transfer with myself. Direction of we have 3 directions found, and after combining it, there are 7 categories so companies, subsidiaries use many types of direction flows, or more than one. And as you can see, again, no statistical significant findings, but after AM is after modification to financial performance, we found some association. There was one direction from headquarters to subsidiaries, so-called traditional approach one, where a company is those wise side of this relationship, which provide information to subsidiaries with financial performance. It could be quite interesting findings, because it can mean that if there is any dependence or more dependent relation where financial flows flow from somewhere to somewhere, because we do not know what is the reason and what is the result, there could be some impact also on direction. And what more? Do I have any minute? No. So the more results in the paper. There are many limitations, as you can see. We know about it. We can work with our results more and more in depth and in wide as well. And so we have many opportunities, and you have many opportunities for other research, and maybe even for some presentation and for more papers. Should be interesting. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your presentation. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much for your presentation. I was wondering if you've come across any backward knowledge flows from Czech subsidiaries to head offices. I know it wasn't the purpose, but...
Yeah, we know it. It's not even in paper, but we know it, and we are very proud about it. I mean, I like a representative for this country, because we found that in many subsidiaries, just this flow is quite existing.
And what is it about? Do you have any examples? What do they export back?
So, I can maybe mention one example. It's just Italian company which has subsidiary in our country, and our subsidiary stands for Innovation Center for Whole Global Company. So this is really, they have a very special know-how. The subsidiary, very historical old one know-how from before the Second World War, and still was built up even during communist ages. So it was good, because they exported much to the West. So there were some directions of knowledge flow of even in these bad times, I would say, and they have knowledgeable management all the time. This is very important. And they still produce this knowledge. And so now they are really innovation center for the whole world. It's good. And there are more such subsidiaries. So maybe it's about proudness that we were good before. Now we are still. Maybe.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Explained very well.
Some more questions?
You spoke about more than 300 companies cooperating with your survey. Is there any average companies, I mean the core business, what they are producing, what they are doing, because the region is quite famous for producing some
typically, where we found the best results for our country, I mean, for our subsidiaries, it was engineering. So, it's not so in textile, it's not so in, for instance, in ceramics, but in engineering. Go on.
What kind of companies or subsidiaries present, whether it's production facilities or sales offices or R&D centers or any kind of?
Any kind, but mostly production combined with research and development and services. So, but majority of operation was production.
Okay, we have time for last question.
Thank you for your presentation. How do you think about the knowledge flow from the MNC to subsidiary? Concrete aspect of what kind of knowledge flow mean what? For example, co-applying to patent from MNC and subsidiary, or technology more transfer, or what? Do you have any concrete image of knowledge flow from MNC to subsidiary?
So it's typically know-how, to know how to do what. So these best practices, best practices, but also really hard technological knowledge. So to know how to use some machines, some equipment, because we want to produce more advanced products, not just these simple products, but more advanced products with this technical know-how. But we know from these case studies that which flow is widening, or can I say widening? Maybe is growing, is rising. Is also of soft know-how. So, for instance, to use financial data, financial methods, or methods of operational analysis, because even so that is
okay, understand.
Again, majority is in this hard technology.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
My name is Nicola Bellantuono. I'm from Polytechnico di Bari, University, and I'm presenting this paper that I wrote with my colleagues Barbara Scossetter and Paolo Pontandolfo. The topic is open innovation, in particular which kind of practices to adopt to implement it in a real context. First of all, we know that in innovation practices, it is not new for companies to resort to external subjects such as customers or suppliers or research institutions to find information and knowledge for this kind of innovation. But what we observe is that in recent years, companies tend to increase the attention they pay toward open innovation practices, what we call open innovation practices. Unfortunately, the concept itself of open innovation is quite fuzzy, unclear. This is why the university, academia, scholarships tend to increase the attention of this topic by adopting different perspectives, and so definition of open innovation are different and somehow inconsistent. This results in a sort of a conceptual ambiguity. Therefore, the purpose of our research is to enhance the comprehension of the concept of open innovation, in particular to classify open innovation practices based on the context in which they are to be implemented, with the final aim, which is to provide companies to a sort of guidelines for practices to adopt in real context for specific innovation projects. During this presentation, I will start with some theoretical ground of this topic, then present the methodology we used during the paper, and finally show the main insights of it. First of all, what is open innovation? Among the different definitions provided by the literature, I will just stress our attention of two of them. The former is from Chisbrook. According to him, open innovation is the use of purposes, inflows and outflows of knowledge to accelerate internal innovation and, respectively, to expand the markets for external use of it. The latter definition is from Lichtenthaler, and from last year. It consists in defining open innovation as systematically performing knowledge exploration for attention and exploitation inside and outside organizational boundaries throughout the innovation process. In both cases, it seems that open innovation is opposite to some closed innovation, but in the literature the concept of open degree has emerged. It consists in a sort of measure of extent to which an innovation can be considered open. This concept makes us to overcome the dichotomy between open and closed innovation, and under this perspective we try to analyze the topic. Another definition that we adopted during our research is the one of knowledge supply. We define it as any collaboration or interaction with external subjects that provides some kinds of knowledge or information to support innovation. According to some streams of literature, in particular, we claim that the knowledge supply can be considered the correct unit of analysis to analyze open innovation practices, to investigate them. And what about open innovation practices? The definition may be the one that we can read on the slide: a set of decisions that managers make for each knowledge supply. And in particular, such kind of definition relates to questions such as when, how, with whom, with what purpose, in what way the company should cooperate with the external partner. It is clear that the existence of many sets of decisions, many open innovation practices, imply that there should be some practices which best fit with specific innovation projects. And in particular, to find this practice, we should identify both the independent and the dependent variables for each knowledge supply. In particular, we assume as independent variables the context variables, the variables that are able to describe the context in which the innovation is performed. Whereas, as to the dependent variables, we focus our attention on the variables that are related to the decisions that practitioners have to take in the innovation process itself. Now the methodology. It is based on mostly two steps. In the first one, we derived context and decision variables from the literature. In particular, the decision variables are the ones we are already collected from the literature, and you can find it in one of our previous papers. Whereas the context variables are mostly taken from the paper of Pisano and Berganti, but we try to integrate it with some variables derived from the literature on free libre open source software and on purchasing portfolio models. once the variables have been identified, we try to investigate the relationship between the former and the latter ones. And in particular, we adopted to do it a deductive approach. We author separately investigate this relationship, and then to address the rare inconsistencies among them, we had a discussion to obtain a unique sets of relationship. And in particular, what about the decision variables? We adopt the collaboration approach dimension of analysis. You can find some of them on this slide. The other ones are in the other slide. In particular, we use the access mode. The values for it may be closed or open. In particular, a closed access mode means that the knowledge supply is provided by a selected sources, selected knowledge sources, whereas open access mode means that anyone may candidate himself or herself as a source for this kind of knowledge. The degree of formality may be high or low according to the existence of formalized ways to change information. Incentives may be pecuniary or non-pecuniary. The interaction mode may be dynamic or static. In particular, a dynamic interaction mode means that both the focal company and his knowledge source learn somehow from the interaction. Whereas a static interaction mode is an interaction mode where there are no knowledge transfer to the knowledge supply. May happens when the knowledge supply is, for instance, a book. As to the information flow, it may be monodirectional or bidirectional according to the information exchange among the parties. And for us to the locus of control, we assume that it can be in the hands of the focal company, in the hands of the supplier, or jointly shared among them. Next slide, other dimensions. The coordination mode may be programming or feedbacks according to the existence of some task deliverables and time schedule that are specified in advance or not. The output may be closed and opened according to the existence of some patterns related to the research results, the innovation results. And finally, the coordination form may vary in a range from the pure market to the pure hierarchy. And in particular, we assume the existence of several forms of partnership among these boundaries. Yes. As you can imagine, the combination of all these values results in over 1,000 combinations, but most of them have no sense in reality. What is important is that using these collaboration variables, it is possible to classify the collaboration practices that have been described in the extant literature. In particular, we try to do it with the 4 collaboration practices that Pisano and Berganti present in their paper: the ERIC Circle, the Innovation Mall, the Innovation Community, and the Consortia. In particular, we found the values for each collaboration approach related to each collaboration practice. As to the context variable, the variables that are able to define the context, we found 5 of them. In particular, we focus our attention just on 3. The focal company's knowledge to address the innovation problem, the focal company's knowledge to define the innovation problem and evaluate the solution. And the interest and business of participation to the innovation development that other companies or individuals have. Other independent variables that we at the moment disregarded from this analysis, but we know that they exist, are the focal company's collaborative architecture, namely the promptness of his or her organization to adopt innovation practices, and the criticality of knowledge supply, which we derive from the literature on purchasing portfolio models. It's a sort of we assume that knowledge is something to be purchased. Okay. Assuming that the interest and vision of participation, the knowledge to define the problem and evaluate the solution, and the knowledge to assess, address the problem have two values, we can define a matrix, a three-dimensional matrix, where it is possible to identify 8 positions. The one we named as A, B, C, D, and the other one that we labeled with as not feasible and closed innovation. In particular, 2 positions are considered not feasible. In particular, they are the ones that assume that the focal company has a high level of knowledge to address the problem, but cannot define it. They have a low level of knowledge to define it. This is not feasible according to us, so we disregard this position. Other 2 positions, according to us, seems to be the ones where the closed innovation is located. In particular, according to our analysis, closed innovation is the most suitable way to conduct innovation when the knowledge to assess the problem is high, the knowledge to define the problem and evaluate the solution is high too. In these cases, we claim that closed innovation should be more suitable. As to the relationship, this table summarizes all the relationships we found. In particular, as for the first row, we state that if the interest and business of participation is high, then the access mode should be open and incentives should be not pecuniary. Whereas, second row, when the interest of business or participation is low, then the access mode may be both open and closed, but the incentives have to be pecuniary. We have no time to analyze all the relationship, but I can just invite you to read the paper to know them. So, sorry. We used this relationship to give a value for each collaboration approach, for each of the 4 collaboration practices we have labeled with the letter from A to D. And we also provide some examples of practices that are well known in literature in order to classify them in one of the set of practices A to D. We have just time to present our results. We try to provide companies with guidelines to identify the most suitable open innovation practices, and to do so we identified the decision variables for such kind of innovation practices, the context variables, and the relationship among them. We hope in the next future to improve our research by validating results through a survey, for instance, and also to integrate and modify the list of variables and relationship that we found based on the analysis of the literature we did. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much for this promising classification. Again, any questions?
Thank you very much for your presentation. May I just ask how you differentiate open innovation from ambidexterity, and if you do that, sort of absorbing knowledge, exploration versus exploitation. So how does that relate to open innovation, or at least the definition that you work with in terms of defining open innovation? And the second question is that you suggest that you're looking at the organizational practices of innovating, but yet you look at the decision-making process of individuals. So methodologically, how do you arrive at organizational practices? So how do you define practice?
So, according to the excellent literature, practices are just a set of decisions that the practitioner adopt to address their knowledge supply. We assume as a definition of practices, the one of within in particular, we assume that a practice is just a set of decisions. That's why we use this term, just a way to not increasing the fuzziness of the literature when using a different definition from the one we use. Can you repeat your first question?
The first question was about ambidexterity, concepts of ambidexterity. I don't know if you differentiate it in the literature or work with it at all, but ambidexterity often talks about the ability of organization to maintain their everyday operation with absorbing new knowledge and getting new knowledge, and that there has to be some sort of balance in it. In my view, it might relate to open innovation because you talk in your definitions about ability to explore and exploit at the same time. So to some extent there are some parallels. So do you differentiate between open innovation, or how does the literature differentiate open innovation from ambidexterity?
You can...
we didn't explore the difference about open innovation. We wanted just to try to provide a clear, if you can say so, definition of what open innovation is, and especially how companies can decide which kind of practice to adopt to develop an innovation. So the focus was this one. How companies can decide how much open they must be. So we didn't really explore the concept of diversity.
Yeah, as I know, you and me, only two researchers presented in this conference about open innovation. My topic is also open innovation. I'm so happy to see your paper. According to my understanding, you did not measure open innovation directly. Is it right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Open innovation.
You did not directly measure open innovation. In my opinion, according to the researchers or businessmen, open innovation concept, level of open innovation will be different. Do you have any concrete measure method to measure open innovation?
No, actually, the measurement of open innovation is not one of the goals of this paper. We just to link the open innovation practices with the context in which they can be implemented. But we did some other research on ways to measure the openness degree in open so in general, in innovation processes. But actually, it's not one of the results. Also, it wasn't one of the aims of this research.
Okay, I see. Let's do it together. I met Harry Chesbrough. He also think about how to measure open innovation. We need to measure open innovation because this society, knowledge-based economy society, require to measure open innovation because open innovation business model, open innovation strategy, open innovation platform, very important, growing up. So we have to measure it. That's my research question. And
I agree with you, but we claim that not the higher level of open innovation, open degree should be the most suitable for each context. So in some contexts, it would be better to reduce the openness degree of innovation in order to achieve better results in innovation itself. For instance, if you consider a context where the knowledge so the interest and easiness of participation is low. In this case, it could be most suitable to adopt some practices that don't assume as that assume a higher level of degree of formality. In this case, the openness degree is lower than it would be obtained if the degree of formality is very low. But maybe according to us, according to what the excellent practices presented in the literature say, seems not to be the best choice for this context.
Matrix is a good, excellent, creative idea, I think.
Okay, thank you very much.